Should you rent or should you buy? We've talked about it a little bit on this channel, and obviously I have a slight bias, but the reality is I'm always out to help people, and there's a big factor. What is the right time to rent? What is the right time to buy? So if you have an opportunity to buy, I think a lot of instances it's a good time. However, there's been times where I've suggested that people rent, and this was one of them. When someone's moving in to a new area, maybe you've got a job transfer, you're chasing the grandkids, whatever it may be, it's a good idea to at least consider maybe renting for 6 months to a year. And here's why. So I get these calls all the time. Idaho is the third most popular state for people to move in from out of state. And people are like, oh, we want to live there because we love the politics, or we love this, or we love that. And we want to know, like, what are the good areas, what are the bad areas? And that's a relative term. What I think is good or bad may not be the same thing, and everybody's different. So the three popular things that people want to know is how close is it to an airport, a hospital, and retail, or I joke around, Costco, right? So I can give those stats. Google Maps, you can do, all kinds of mapping systems, right? But the big thing I think that people don't understand is one area will differentiate from another area, maybe even in climates, but just the way that the feel is. And when you go looking for an area, I love to tell people, go into the grocery stores, right? Everybody needs eggs and bread. And so there's going to be, most of the people that live in that area are going to be at the grocery store. But if you haven't lived in North Idaho, let's say, especially if you're changing climates, if you're moving from Florida, it's a really good idea to spend 4 seasons here in Idaho. Now, we might have a really exceptionally heavy winter or light winter, right? So that could change, but it gives you the differences. Different counties have different building regulations. There's maybe more of the stores that you like or dislike. And when you're talking on the phone, I'm asking a bunch of questions to you, and you're answering, and we're coming from different backgrounds, right? I was born in Kansas and raised here and then moved here, and you might have been born in South Dakota and lived in Ireland for 6 years. And we have different things, and so what your perception of round is might be different than my perception of round, or a different shade of green when you say green, or all of those things come into factor. And so besides just the 3-year mark, because I always tell people, if you don't think you're going to be there for 3 years, it's probably not a good idea to buy. Exceptions may apply to that rule. But again, if you've never lived in an area, it's a good idea. Just consider to spend a little bit of time renting. I've got several clients. I run a property management company as well that are doing just that. And we're having conversations while they're renting. They're getting out, they're testing new restaurants, driving the different back roads, figuring out where they're spending their time most. Maybe they've got kids, and they're figuring out where their kids, maybe your kid's on the football team. Where are they traveling to the most, right? What routes are you going? What do you like about living in this part of Post Falls, let's say, versus that part of Post Falls? Because everybody has different perceptions. And so I'm going to finish with this. When you're looking at a different area, especially if you're moving in, now if you lived in Coeur d'Alene and you're moving over to Post Falls, it's not that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you're moving from 2-3 states over, maybe even coming from Washington, Western Washington or Montana. If you're doing that, if you're making that transition, it might behoove you to land in a spot and rent for about 6 months just to see what the lay of the land is. You got questions about real estate, feel free to hit me up. Follow my channel. I love giving hints, tips, tricks. And in the meantime, stay safe.